The Empire had conquered 17 galaxies. Their warships darkened the skies of 1,000 worlds. Their soldiers marched across planets like a flood of death. No species had ever stood against them and survived. They believed they were the ultimate predators of the universe. They had never known defeat. When their long-range scanners detected a small blue planet in an unremarkable solar system, they expected another easy conquest. The planet was called Earth by its inhabitants. The species living there called themselves humans. Initial scans showed they had only recently developed space travel. Their weapons were primitive. Their military forces were scattered and divided among many nations. They laughed at the reports. This would be the simplest conquest in their long history. High Commander stood on the bridge of the flagship and stared at the holographic image of Earth. He was 7 feet tall with gray scaled skin and 4 arms. His species had evolved as hunters on a death world where only the strongest survived. He had personally led the destruction of 12 civilizations. None had lasted more than 3 standard cycles against his forces. "Send the first wave," he ordered. 100 warriors should be enough. Have them establish a base and begin the subjugation of the local population. The dropships launched from the flagship. 100 of the finest soldiers descended toward Earth. They landed in an area the humans called the American Midwest. The warriors formed their ranks and activated their energy shields. They expected the primitive humans to flee in terror. 3 days passed. No communication came from the landing party. No reports. No requests for supplies, nothing but silence. High Commander felt the first hint of confusion. He had never lost contact with a landing force before. Perhaps their equipment had malfunctioned. He ordered a second wave of 500 warriors to investigate. These were veterans who had fought in dozens of campaigns. They carried heavier weapons and wore stronger armor. A week passed. The silence continued. Something cold began to grow in the chest of the High Commander. He refused to call it fear. They did not know fear. They were the ones who created fear in others. He told himself there must be some explanation. Perhaps a disease had struck the landing parties. Perhaps the planet had hidden dangers they had not detected. He sent a third wave. 2,000 warriors this time. Along with them went reconnaissance drones and communication relays. Surely now they would learn what was happening on the surface. The drones transmitted images for exactly 4 hours. They showed the warriors spreading out across the landscape. They showed human military vehicles approaching in the distance. Then every drone went dark at the same moment. Every communication channel fell silent. 2,000 more warriors vanished without a trace. Now the High Commander felt something he had never experienced before. His 4 hands trembled slightly as he gripped the railing of his command platform. Around him, his officers exchanged worried glances. No one spoke the thoughts that filled their minds. The humans should not have been capable of this. Their technology was centuries behind them. Their weapons should have been useless against armor. Yet somehow, wave after wave of warriors had simply disappeared. Made a decision that would haunt him forever. He ordered a full planetary assault. 50,000 warriors would descend upon Earth simultaneously. They would attack major population centers around the globe. No primitive species could stand against such overwhelming force. The invasion began at dawn Earth time. Dropships filled the skies over 100 cities. Warriors poured out onto the streets expecting easy slaughter. What they found was something else entirely. The humans had been preparing. They had watched the earlier landing parties arrive. They had studied weapons and armor. They had learned. In the first hour, they discovered that humans did not surrender. Unlike other conquered species who had tried to negotiate or flee, the humans fought back with a ferocity that shocked the invaders. Old men picked up weapons. Children threw rocks and bottles. Women fired guns from windows. Every single human seemed willing to die fighting. But it was not the civilians who destroyed the invasion force. It was the human soldiers. They had assumed human militaries were primitive and poorly trained. This was a fatal mistake. Human soldiers were products of thousands of years of constant warfare. They had fought each other across every terrain on their planet. They had developed tactics and strategies for every situation. They were experts at killing. In the streets of a human city called Moscow, warriors found themselves surrounded by human soldiers who seemed to appear from nowhere. The humans used their knowledge of the urban environment to set ambushes. They collapsed buildings onto advancing warriors. They used underground tunnels to attack from unexpected directions. In a desert region called the Middle East, human fighters demonstrated a type of warfare they had never encountered. The humans used the land itself as a weapon. They buried explosives beneath the sand. They attacked at night when heat sensors were confused by the cooling desert. They struck and vanished like ghosts. In dense forests across Asia, human soldiers showed patience that seemed impossible. They waited in silence for days without moving. When patrols passed, the humans killed them so quickly and quietly that the following soldiers never knew their companions had fallen until they stumbled over the bodies. They had expected fear. Instead, they found humans who smiled as they fought, humans who laughed while charging into battle, humans who sacrificed themselves willingly to take down even one invader. High Commander received fragmented reports from across the planet. His warriors were dying in numbers that seemed impossible. Human weapons that should have bounced harmlessly off armor were somehow finding weak points. Human vehicles that should have been easy targets were outmaneuvering fighters. Then the reports stopped coming entirely. 50,000 warriors, gone, in less than 3 standard days. The High Commander stood alone on his bridge as the truth settled upon him. His officers had retreated to their quarters. No one wanted to be near him when his rage finally exploded. But the rage never came. Instead, felt only a deep and terrible understanding. They had made a mistake that no amount of military power could correct. They had assumed humans were prey. They had not considered that humans might be something else entirely. Access the historical database. He began to study human history properly for the first time. What he found made his blood run cold. Humans had spent their entire existence fighting. They fought the dangerous animals on their world until those animals were nearly extinct. They fought the diseases that plagued them until they conquered most of them. They fought their own planet's climate and survived ice ages and droughts and floods. And most of all, they fought each other. The wars in human history were beyond comprehension. They had killed millions of their own kind in conflicts that lasted years. They had developed weapons capable of destroying their entire planet, and they had built thousands of such weapons. They had used chemicals and diseases as tools of war against their own species. Any other civilization would have destroyed itself long ago. The humans had somehow survived. More than survived, they had thrived. Their population grew despite their constant warfare. Their technology advanced because of it. War drove their innovation. Conflict made them stronger. They had evolved as predators, but humans had evolved as something far more dangerous. They had evolved as warriors who fought everything, including themselves. Made one final attempt. He sent a communication to the planet's surface. He offered peace. He promised to leave and never return. He asked only that the humans release any captured warriors. The response came from a human general. The message was short. There are no prisoners. There are no survivors. Leave now or join them. The High Commander ordered an immediate retreat. His remaining ships turned away from Earth and fled toward the edge of the solar system. As they ran, composed his report to the High Council. He warned them never to approach Earth again. He explained that the humans were unlike any species the Empire had ever encountered. They were not prey. They were not even proper predators. They were something they had no word for. The humans called themselves a lot of things: explorers, scientists, builders, but underneath all of that they were killers. They had practiced the art of killing for so long that it was written into their very cells. They enjoyed it. They celebrated it. They made heroes of their greatest killers and taught their children to admire them. The Empire had conquered 17 galaxies, being the most dangerous species anyone had ever met. But the humans had spent their existence in a constant war of all against all. Every generation of humans was forged in conflict. Every human alive was descended from survivors and victors. High Commander ended his report with a final recommendation. The coordinates of Earth should be erased from all databases. The planet should be declared forbidden. Any ship that approached it should be destroyed by themselves, rather than risk the humans learning that the Empire still existed. The High Council received the report in stunned silence. For the first time in their long history, they had found something they could not conquer, something they dared not fight, something that made them feel like prey. Years passed. The Empire avoided that region of space. They spread in other directions, always moving away from the dangerous blue planet. But sometimes, late in the sleep cycle, commanders would wake from nightmares. They dreamed of human faces, smiling faces, the faces of beings who had looked upon the greatest military force in 17 galaxies and felt no fear at all. The humans eventually spread beyond their own solar system. They built colonies on distant worlds. They met other species and formed alliances and made enemies and fought wars among the stars. They brought their unique nature with them wherever they went. Other empires rose to challenge them. Other species believed they could succeed where they had failed. They sent their finest warriors to test the humans in battle. None of them ever returned to tell the tale. The universe slowly learned the truth that they had discovered. Humanity was not a species to be conquered. They were not victims waiting to be subjugated. They were the most dangerous thing the cosmos had ever produced. They were humans, and they were very, very good at war.